Welcome back to the Relaxing Ghost channel here on YouTube. Today we have our episode 34 of the Attitude Era review series. After a brief hiatus, we are back with a brand new episode. Pretty big one today. The Royal Rumble 2000. I know a lot of people have been waiting for this one, myself included. This is one of my favorite, WWE, WWF pay-per-views, one of my favorite Rumbles. Maybe not my favorite Royal Rumble match, but as a complete show, this is a very good pay-per-view to go back and watch. And going back and, rewatching these, this is definitely one you keep in circulation. Every Royal Rumble time, or pop it in and give her a watch. It's always, super fun. Very good show. We got our director here today checking out the series. And what a way to kick off the new millennium with a show at Madison Square Garden. So this pay-per-view was January 23rd, 2000, New York, New York. Of course, at the Big Apple, Madison Square Garden. Cactus Jack and Triple H headlining the show for the WWF Championship in a street fight. And as a young fan, watching some of this stuff as it happened, this was really cool. One of my all-time favorite moments is the transformation from Mankind to Cactus Jack there on SmackDown. That was a hell of a moment. So this show kicks off here in a kind of weird circumstances. What an atmosphere it was in the garden there. The taxi cab hanging from the rafters, and their entranceway, the shorter entrance. I always liked that, the look of that at Madison Square Garden. Not sure the actual attendance, if they ever mentioned it. It was probably around 20,000 or so. But we have JR and the King, legendary commentary. And it's a undefeated Kurt Angle here versus Taz, who is making his WWF debut. And this was an awesome opener. This crowd, they knew it was Taz straight away. And he got one of the biggest pops of the night, and we're just starting the show. And this is Taz. He's putting Kurt Angle through Suplex City, pillar to post. Just awesome stuff. Taz locks in the Taz mission, and Angle is unconscious. He gets stretchered out of the building. And later on, they play videos of him. Well, if it was a choke, it was illegal. I'm still undefeated. And the doctors there. I'm not worried about that. I'm more worried about you. So with some of these older VHS tapes, we got a lot of exclusive footage on home videos, which may have later made their way on DVD. Not 100% sure about some of these, but they might have just played them between matches on here. So this one, we have Taz up first, and I think later on they kind of just played them all at the end, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Taz exclusive. You want a statement? You want a statement? Here's your statement. It's a very weird promo from Taz. Second match of the night, tag team tables match. The first tag team tables match in WWF history. Man, they were just, going for it all here. Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys. I I can't even believe some of this stuff happened. This was quick. This was on the money. Everything kind of made sense to what was going on. I love the table spot teases. Where kind of the Dudleys are they're escaping the Hardys. High flying offense. Um, First, we get a little tease in the ring. Nasty chair shots to Bubba Ray. And Bubba Ray is the first through a table outside the ring. Splash and a leg drop combination with the table on the stairs there. And then Matt Hardy would be the next one to go through a table. And he gets, power bombed, folded up like an accordion. They pull out this little blue ladder, which was really fun to see. They weren't making their own ladders at this point in time. Maybe they had a few here, but this was just some regular old ladder, blue. I've seen it a few times on home videos and whatnot, SmackDowns. They go up to the balcony, the vomitorium and whatnot, and Jeff Hardy with the Swanton Bomb over the balcony, through the tables, epic spots here. And they could pretty much do anything at this point in time. A lot of this stuff was still new in the WWF. So this was just insane. Love the match. And next up is the Miss Rumble swimsuit competition. Kids, you are probably about to have nightmares if you are a first-time watcher of this event. This actually happened on a pay-per-view. And you could see a lot of it on the home video. They may have edited in later versions, but very explicit. This was quite the sight to see. I can't believe they went with this. Who knows if this was off script? I'm guessing it wasn't, but they did tease this the month prior in that evening gown swimming pool match, whatever it was. But there's a bunch of women in this match. You got Jacqueline, BB, Ivory, Luna, and the Cat. And then out comes Mae Young, who is a late entry. Good job, King, on that pun there. You got different judges and whatnot, including, I believe, Andy Richter was out there, Sergeant Slaughter, Classy Freddie Blassie, some, wrestling legends out there. And it was a unanimous decision that Mae Young had won the contest. So Mae Young is going crazy, and then she says she wants to show the world her puppies. And, she starts unzipping, and Mark Henry runs down, tries to cover her up. She runs out, and, the jokes and things to come later was, they definitely got their stuff in. They got a lot of jokes out of that, and still what they use to this day. Some of that stuff. It was hilarious to see, but it's also kind of a nightmare. So, just beware before you're watching. If after that match, we go to WWF New York with the coach, and he's just cutting a promo and whatnot. We do have a Kurt Angle exclusive here, And this is where, he's backstage with the medical staff saying, if I got choked out, I'm still undefeated. So they were definitely building up Kurt Angle the right way. I didn't like Kurt Angle at this time. I didn't get him. Wasn't until later on in the year where, I would start coming around to Kurt Angle during his WWF title reign. But third match of the night is a triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. Co-champions at the time, Chris Jericho and Chyna versus Hardcore Holly. It's a triple threat rules. Before the match, it's Jericho and Chyna. Come on, Chyna, put the belt on me. And out comes Dave Hebner. Yup, give me that title. I'm going to bring it to the ring. And Chyna's upset. She can't bring the title to the ring. And now neither of them is going to wear it to the ring. This was a decent match. A couple of these matches definitely felt rushed here. But early on, you get a pedigree to Hardcore Holly for a 2 count. Chyna with a Boston Crab on Hardcore Holly. Jericho with a Bulldog on Chyna. Lion Salt for a 3. And Chris Jericho is going to walk out as the undisputed IC champion. So, decent match. All 3 would be pulling double duty tonight. After the match, we go backstage and we get a Rock promo saying he's going to toss out 29 jabronis at Madison Square Garden. And the only guys he's really worried about are Crash Holly, and I think it was Headbanger Maj. So those were his two guys he was the most worried about. But then he got serious. He broke it down, cuts a promo on Big Show. The Rock knew how to cut a promo. And, it kind of sucks seeing, he had a very short window in the wrestling world, but, very high quality Rock. At this match into the or going into the next match, we're only an hour into the pay-per-view. It's the 4th match of the night. APA New Age Outlaws for the tag team championships. This was a very quick match. It definitely felt rushed at times, but I did like the finish quite a bit. We did see the Outlaws retain. So early on, it's only about a 4 or 5 minute match. Billy Gunn pulls the referee out of the ring, and Bradshaw clotheslines both of them, out into the barricade somewhere. X-Pac does a little run-in, and I believe he hits a heel kick on probably Farouk here, but Farouk hits a nasty spine buster in there. Faymaster and 1, 2, 3 retaining the tag titles. Later on, we would get a kind of another backstage exclusive, and Road Dogg saying they got her A double crooked letter kicked in the MSG. I like these little exclusive promos on here. Kind of out of character, kind of in character, but later on, a decade or so later, we would see a lot of these exclusive promos put directly onto the YouTube channel. I wish they would still put them on DVDs. I don't even know if they still do them. 5th match of the night for the World Wrestling Federation Championship to be decided in a street fight. Cactus Jack versus Triple H. An epic battle, to say the least. This was one for the ages. Still talked about to this day as being one of the greatest championship matches. One of the greatest street fights. Unbelievable praise. And this is where Triple H really started coming into his own as a main eventer. And him and Foley had, several matches, years and years of build-up. That's why I love a lot of these feuds. They're not just, hot shot angles put together in a week or two, and they're programmed for the next 2 or 3 months. You look at Triple H and Rock, Triple H and Austin and Foley. These are matches and feuds that lasted years. Ric Flair and Sting, same kind of idea. And this is all Cactus Jack early on. There's a nasty bell shot on the outside. And Cactus Jack is challenging him with the chair. So Jack takes control after on. And these guys are battling in and out of the ring, on the stairs, on the announce desk, in the aisleway. Triple H takes a nasty suplex onto the wooden pallets in the aisleway, and he cuts his calf wide open. There's probably a good 2-inch gash in there. The barbed wire spots, they kind of did a little switcheroo, if you noticed. First time around, he's just pummeling the hell out of him. And then Triple H is bleeding like a horse. Referee takes the barbed wire, gives it to the Spanish announce team. They put it under the table for whatever reason. And then later on, Cactus Jack comes to. Where's my barbed wire? Here comes, I believe, Hugo. And then it's a brand new one. And then he gets knocked out for his troubles. Cactus Jack is just taking, all kinds of shots on Triple H. Back and forth. And then before the match even began, Triple H had given something to Howard Finkel, which we would know as handcuffs later on here. Handcuffs Cactus Jack. He's just beating the hell out of him with this chair. He even breaks the top part of it off. It goes flying into the first 5 rows. They battle into the aisleway. The Rock comes down, chair shot to Triple H, and then a police officer undoes the cuffs. So, back-to-back years, we kind of had deja vu of Mick Foley here in these brutal matches, getting handcuffed and just beaten. Mick Foley grabs the bag of thumbtacks, which at first King was like, sandbag. Beat him over the head with a sandbag. And JR's like, oh no. Nope. I love how they kind of tease it, spreading them around, and then it's, Thumbtack City. Cactus Jack takes a back body drop onto the thumbtacks. Triple H hits a pedigree. And Cactus Jack kicks out. Triple H is absolutely incredulous. One more pedigree onto the thumbtacks. This was insane. 1, 2, 3 to retain. And then they're about to stretch her out. Triple H. Cactus Jack says no. One last shot with the barbed wire. And then, Cactus music hits. And he is out of the garden. So, insane matchup. Go out of your way and watch it if you haven't. Man, just recalling some of that stuff is, I don't even have to really watch it to kind of paint the picture of the match. And little did we know at the time, this would be kind of the end of Cactus Mick Foley's career. The month later, he would put his career on the line. And the 6th match and main event for the winner to go on to face the WWF champion at WrestleMania 2000 the Royal Rumble match, 30 men over the top rope. Pretty fun match overall. You know, I think it was pretty much guaranteed The Rock was winning this going into it, but you know, they definitely teased the hell out of everyone. D'Lo Brown and Grandmaster Sexay would start the match off. And then, man, going back and, you know, a lot of these guys have just recently passed away. And, you know, it's kind of sad to look back on this match now, 21 years later, and seeing some of these guys have passed away. So I was just realizing that. But, you know, up next we have Mosh and Christian. Rikishi enters at number 5. He's going to eliminate the most men in this match with 7. You got Scotty 2 Hotty, who is here to save Grandmaster Sexay from elimination. And we get a little dance off before he tosses both men out. So this Rumble match kind of had everything in it. We had Kai and Tai and the Mean Street Posse making multiple interferences because they were cut from the match. Taka Michinoku lands right on his face, and they would play this for the rest of the match about a dozen times. Let's see the Chinese guy falling on his face, and later on, you know, he did ring his bell pretty good. So Rikishi is fairly dominant here. Steve Blackman. We have the Battle of the Heavyweights, Rikishi and Viscera. And I always love hearing King switching up his picks like halfway through the match. He's like, whoever wins this battle between Viscera and Kishi is my pick to win. You got Test, the Bulldog, Gangrel, Edge, Bob Backlund making a special appearance, Chris Jericho at 15, Crash Holly, China. You got Farouk and Road Dogg, who would last quite a bit. Al Snow, Val Venus, Prince Albert, Hardcore Holly, Rock Enders at 24, Hardcore Holly. Then you got Billy Gunn, Big Show, Bradshaw, Kane, The Godfather, and X-Pac. So even in 2000, we knew that number 30 would be X-Pac. Test would last the longest in this match at around 27 minutes. Some Royal Rumble rookies making their first appearance in the match. Albert, Big Show, Christian, Grandmaster Sexy, Crash Holly, Chris Jericho, Rikishi, and Scotty 2 Hotty. So a big night for Too Cool. So overall, the match comes down to Kane, X-Pac, Big Show, and The Rock. I thought this finish was done fairly well. But, you know, as it happens, you can't really tell if Rock's feet hit the floor or not. It was pretty smooth and done, you know, pretty well. You know, later on we would see video footage and whatnot. Big Show's controversy to him winning the match. And I believe he's going to challenge Rock at the next pay-per-view. So Rock does eliminate Big Show last to win the match. And, you know, cuts a promo towards the end of the match saying he's going on to WrestleMania. And Big Show just knocks him off his high horse to end the show. 2 hours, 45 minutes. This is a hell of a show, guys. I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. While a couple of matches did feel rushed, I think it did not hurt the show as a whole. But, you know, I could have done without seeing Mae Young and all that. But, you know, very solid show overall. And that street fight is one for the ages and one of the greatest matches of all time. So 9 out of 10 from me. So we'll get into what the next couple of episodes will be. I'm going to try to squeeze in another retro SmackDown review. And of course, episode 35 is going to be from Connecticut. The No Way Out Hell in a Cell match, Cactus Jack and Triple H. We also have the Radicals now in the WWF. Then we're going to have WrestleMania 2000, one of my favorite pay-per-views. And then I'm going to check this tape out. The best of WrestleManias 1 through 15. Kind of compare it to the best of 1 through 14, if it's kind of more of the same or what. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know your thoughts on WrestleMania or Royal Rumble 2000 and your favorite matches and moments. All of it, man. I would say that street fight, the debut of Taz, and that tag team tables match. You know, 3 very good matches, I would say, leads up to a thumbs up pay-per-view from me. If you could always pick 3 things from each pay-per-view, you know, give it a thumbs up. You know, you're always going to have a little bit of filler, granted, or, you know, you got to have, you know, your peaks and valleys of a pay-per-view. You can't just be all up, because then the crowd has no reaction time. Let me know your thoughts, guys. As always, leave your comments in the section below, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.